It's time for Halloween once again, but I'm not sure how much trick-or-treating is going to get done this year. Luckily in Fae we have some new seasonal units, and the Dragon's Harvest banner does indeed include a lot of dragon characters. We have Halloween Xane, Dheginsea, Female Robin, aka Female Grima, and then we have Harmonized Tiki and Ninian. This banner is very interesting, lots of fun stuff to talk about, and it starts off with an amazing 4-star focus unit in Xane. As the 4-star focus unit, Xane can be gotten at 4-star and 5-star rarity. He won't reset your 5-star pity if you get him at 4 stars, and we do not have the spark mechanic present, so good luck on your summons. As a unit, Xane is incredibly fun and a bit memey, as we will discuss. He's a colorless infantry mage, which makes him really unique, and for stats he has 47 HP, 30 attack, 34 speed, 25 defense, and 30 res. After 3 years, Henry is finally dethroned as the highest HP mage in the game. 47 HP on a mage is incredible, and it's really the only important stat for Xane. He has okay speed and res, but kinda meh attack, but I'll explain why. We only need to focus on his HP in a bit. For old skills, Xane has reposition, which is always great to have. He also comes with Infantry Hexblade 3, and this skill lets adjacent infantry physical damage units have adaptive damage. It does not work for beast infantry, and it also grants an extra plus to attack and speed. This skill is incredibly rare because it was only on Hubert before, so if you ever wanted to try it out, then Xane is your man. Now, Xane actually has a unique weapon called Joker's Wild. This 14 my tome grants plus 5 HP, which is something I never thought I would see on a personal weapon. This bumps him up to 52 HP, and again, that's the only stat Xane really focuses on. This is because Joker's Wild will make all of Xane's stats equal the highest respective stat from among allies within 2 spaces during combat. This calculates each stat independently, and if Xane's stat ends up being the highest, then his stats will actually decrease to match the next highest ally. Joker's Wild is a true meme weapon, and not like in a bad way. Xane will copy the highest stats of his teammates, which means if you got a 70 attack Brave Edelgard, Xane also now has 70 attack. If his teammates have 50 speed, then he gets 50 speed. If you have an army unit with 45 flat defense and res, Xane gets that too. This weapon is ridiculous if you can set it up correctly. Because Xane will lower his own stats, you do not want an unbalanced team, nor do you want a misposition. If only one ally is near him, Xane is going to copy all of their stats. If that ally is your squishy healer, you probably don't want that. For this reason, team selection is very key to making Xane succeed, and that's going to make him a bit gimmicky. His base stats are okay, but he heavily puts most of it into HP because ideally you're giving him high stats everywhere else. If Xane is all alone, then his own stats will be what's left. Now, Xane does bring a new heritable A skill, Attack and Res form, grants attack and res equal to the number of allies within 2 spaces times 2, and then you add +1 after that. This has a max of +7, which would be 3 nearby allies. Form skills aren't bad alternatives to bond skills if you know you're going to stay near the team. For Xane, he needs to be within 2 spaces of his allies anyway, so this is a good skill for him. There is going to be an incredible amount of potential for Xane. Him being a colorless mage is great because he won't have natural color disadvantage, and having range attacks is always nice. You could build him so many different ways, but ultimately it depends on what kind of stats you can borrow from his team. If you do bring a super high attack unit, then maybe look for extra defense or res. If you have a pretty fast sword user, maybe you don't have to worry about speed as much. There is a lot of uncertainty here, but if you happen to not have any nearby allies, then a bit more attack and speed should be fine. For the most part, since you are ideally bringing the best stats on your team, you putting them on Xane, I think grabbing skills that offer other bonuses will be helpful. Guard is nice to prevent specials if you want something cheap, but something like low attack and speed is another good pickup. No follow-up wouldn't be bad either, since Xane would have to worry about less about guaranteed follow-up attackers. The most fun skill option is probably going to be close counter. I mean, if you can bring an army unit with like 40 plus defense and res, then Xane is going to be well off tanking melee and ranged foes. Do keep in mind that field buffs count towards Xane's borrowed stats, so he could bring buffing skills to help his team out. You could use Rally Plus or Tactic buffs. I think opening buffs are great since they target your ally with the highest stat on the team anyway. For secret seals, we have the new Brazen Defense and Res seal coming from the Tempest Trials. Since Xane has a lot of HP to work with, he could become even sturdier once he starts to get a little bit low. You could also go for heavier Flashing Blade and use your stand skill of choice. Overall, Xane is a very wacky, fun unit. He wants to be near his team, so the more defensive skills like close counter are probably the ideal choices. I think the crazy thing is that outside of arena scoring, he does not really need merges. They don't matter since he copies all these stats of his teammates, so if you can just get one copy, then you can mess around with Joker's Wild. With that kind of power, you would think he would be an only 5-star rarity unit, but he would be much easier to get as the 4-star focus unit. For sure, you will see some meme runs with Xane, and I'm looking forward to the wacky things people do with him. Next we have Halloween Dheginsea, who is the king of the Dragon Lagoons in the Telias games. He is one of the most powerful characters in that world, and we'll for sure see him again as a regular unit. For Halloween, he's going to be a red armored dragon, and people wondered how the Dragon Lagoons were going to be handled since they could just be another type of beast transformation, but we already have a place for the usual Fire Emblem Manicheets, and it looks like the Telias dragons will join that group. Unsurprisingly, as an armored unit, Dheginsea has some crazy high stats: 45 HP, 45 attack, 14 speed, 41 defense, and 39 resistance, with a res and speed super boon. Pretty much following Brave Edelgard with that low speed and high everything else stat line. I will say that Dheginsea's dragon sprite looks so good in Fae, it really exemplifies how crazy strong this guy actually is. For old skills, Dheginsea will have Draconic Aura, which makes sense with one of the highest base attack stats in the game. He also has Sturdy Stance 3, which is a great defense with A skill. Plus 6 attack and defense and guard for the enemy phase is really good for a lot of tanks, and it's a skill a lot of units can use. When I first saw the trailer, I thought there was no way they would make Dheginsea the 4-star, but he has an inheritable weapon, which is why I was surprised they let Xane be the 4-star with a unique weapon. We don't have too many inheritable dragon stones, and the market has basically been cornered by Lightning Breath since forever. Dheginsea is going to bring Black Fire Breath Plus. It's a 4-2 dragon stone that is similar to the pirate weapon banner. If the unit is not adjacent to an ally, inflict -5 attack and res on foe and neutralize foes' bonuses to attack and res during combat. Basically, it's a low attack and res with bigger debuffs, but requires that solo condition to activate. This isn't a bad Dragonstone if the user is okay being alone. It grants a lot of tankiness with that -5 attack debuff and attack field buff neutralization effect. As an army unit, Dheginsea is going to get very far, so that may be an issue. If you want to stay with the team, then this weapon won't be as effective. Dheginsea is also bringing us another armor-only fighter skill. I guess they just got bored and decided to pump out more of these for whatever reason. Slick Fighter 3 is going to be another enemy phase variant. If the unit's HP is greater than or equal to 25% and the foe initiates combat, you neutralize penalties on the unit during combat, and unit makes a follow-up attack. Alright, so this is another Vengeful Fighter alternative if you like quick riposte. Compared to Crafty Fighter, which we got from Gatry, instead of the guard effect, Slick Fighter will preserve the user's stats from debuffs. You could argue that guard is pretty important on these slower tanks because assuming they're going to get doubled, that increases the chances of a big burst of damage from a special proc. You could also say guard is more universally useful because nearly every unit out there wants to proc their special, but you may not always have to face debuffs. If there's no debuffs on the user, Slick Fighter is just a strong quick riposte skill. Now this isn't too much of an issue for Dheginsea because he's combining Slick Fighter with Sturdy Stance 3, so he already has guard. With all his stats, Dheginsea is one scary tank, but he still has that issue of armor and dragon effectiveness. The man has a lot of defense and res, plus inflicts attack debuffs with Black Fire Breath, so he's still going to be incredibly tough. He'll also have follow-ups for the enemy phase, so Dheginsea will be that typical enemy phase armored tank. You can give him skills like Attack Smoke, Close Defense, or the new Attack and Defense Solo Sacred Seal because with Black Fire Breath, he must be by himself. While Sturdy Stance 3 is nice, obviously Distant Counter is always a treat for these armored tanks. You could just go with Fortress Defense and Res 3 to be an actual stat stick, and Slick Fighter is preventing Dheginsea from losing any stats to debuffs. You can substitute our usual Special Fighter, Bold Fighter, or Vengeful Fighter trio, and the Quick Riposte Seal is an option too. Dheginsea is another army unit that would be great with Threat Attack and Res 3. Again, these are not easy skills to obtain, but with them, if you try to bait Dheginsea, these dual threatens inflict -5 res and give him +5 attack with his field buffs, and that's going to stack on top of Blackfire Breath's -5 res debuff, and the man starts off with 45 base attack, so it's not ideal to get hit by him. You could use Armored Stride for mobility, but I don't know if it's worth it over using a combative C skill. For other inheritable breaths, there is the new one on our Tempest Trials unit. It's called Pale Breath. It's the opposite of Blackfire Breath. It requires an ally within 2 spaces and grants +5 attack and defense while neutralizing penalties to attack and defense on the user. You can use that or the good old Lightning Breath if you want to stay with the team. Overall, Dheginsea is another armored dragon with a crap ton of stats. He doesn't have a crazy unique weapon, but he's not going to go down so easily. For our third unit, we have Halloween Female Robin, or more correctly, I guess it's Halloween Female Grima. Grima's back, and this time is dressed up for Halloween in an interesting costume. She'll be a green flying dragon this time, but with vastly different stats. She has 40 HP, 40 attack, 17 speed, 37 defense, and 30 resistance. Grima will have attack and res super boons, which are both great options. She will join Myrrh as the second green flying dragon, but she's going to be a bit more min-maxed. For old skills, Grima has Noontime for some healing, and she has good old gold dragons to buff up her dragon teammates. We may not have got DC refines just yet, but Grima is going to get a new DC unique weapon. Moonless Breath grants distant counter, and if Grima is within 2 spaces of an ally and triggers a damage special, she heals for 30% of her max HP. Very neat little weapon, and the percent max HP heal on special trigger was also on Brave Claude, and we saw how good that was for his sustain. For Grima, she only gets 30%, and 30% of her default 40 HP is 12, which isn't that bad honestly. She has noontime as well, so lots of healing when her special triggers. The problem for tanky flyers is that they don't really have many special cooldown skills, which means spamming specials is going to be tough. Or is it? Female Grima will actually carry over her unique A skill from her legendary version, but this time it got buffed. Dragon Scale is a better version of Dragon Skin, and it neutralizes flyer effectiveness for Grima. That means she's not going to be taken out by archers, and she has DC to counterattack back. Now if the foe initiates combat or if they're at 100% HP, Grima inflicts -6 attack and res, while also gaining special cooldown charge +1 per foe's attack. This is an incredibly good skill. It gets rid of that natural weakness to bows, while also inflicting a big -6 attack and res debuff, and that's always active on the enemy phase, and you can proc on the player phase too. Combine this with extra special cooldown charges when attacked, and Grima can now charge up noontime by getting hit 1 time, and then she retaliates it with it on her counterattack. That's going to get her the 30% max HP healing, so she can soak up a lot of damage. Very nice A skill, there's no reason not to use it. Now Grima shares a new inheritable skill for all dragon units. Dragon's Ire is a new B skill that works if the unit is above 50% HP and if the foe initiates combat. It neutralizes the effects that prevent units' follow-up attacks, and it gives the user a guaranteed follow-up as well. Now this is a fantastic dragon only skill. It's a straight upgrade to any dragon build using Quick Riposte, and now you get half of no follow-up, specifically the part that keeps Quick Riposte from activating. For a slow but tanky dragon like Hollowing Grima, this is the perfect B skill addition. Someone like Mer could also use it since she is normally running distant counter and Quick Riposte, and she would actually get the full no follow-up effect thanks to her own refine. Dragon's Ire is certainly going to be a good pickup for a lot of dragon builds. So you may have noticed that this Hollowing Grima basically combines the original male Grima's color and stat line with legendary female Grima's flyer status and her unique A skill. They keep their DC weapon and got a ton of bonus effects, so they end up as a really nice dragon unit. For sure, this female Grima is a much more defensive enemy phase unit than her speedier version, but with that special cooldown reduction and percent max HP healing, this is one fun unit. You really do not have to change anything here. Dragon Scale and Dragon's Ire are both pivotal skills for her playstyle. For C skills, you could use attack and res range 3 if you have a split Primaria. Something like guidance or attack smoke would also be fine. For sacred seals, you pretty much just want the typical defense and res increasing options: close defense, defense and res bond, distant defense, warding and mirror stance, lots of good choices. Now special options are interesting. Sticking with noontime gets us even more healing, which is important to upkeep Dragon's Ire, and since we don't have guard in the build, you may actually want more healing to survive a special proc. However, if you use Glimmer or Moonbow, those could just secure Grima a one-shot KO. She does inflict -6 res and has 40 base attacks, so it's certainly possible. Since she has Dragon's Ire, that should mean 2 special activations, assuming Grima gets doubled, which is pretty likely. Off the base 40 HP, she could heal 24 HP recovered in a fight, and that is some great sustain without even considering a noontime proc. Hollowing Grima is a very nice dragon unit. She'll be joining Mer if you want some green magical damage with some tankiness from the flyer. Last unit for today is Harmonized Tiki and Ninian. Gonna be honest, I didn't really pay attention to them because of Xane, but they are actually disgusting. This Tiki is gonna be a blue flying dragon with 39 HP, 39 attack, 42 speed, 32 defense, and 25 resistance. She has an attack and res super boon, and the attack one is gonna be extra spicy, as we will discuss. For old skills, they come with attack and speed push 4 for +7 attack and speed when above 25% HP. Tiki also gets aerobatics for extra flyer mobility around her non-flyer teammates. So the reason this pair is going to be something to watch out for is because of this weapon, Frostfire Breath, effective against dragons and +3 attack. This makes Tiki have 58 attack total with it equipped. If she has a bonus active on her, she gets another +6 attack and speed, and you grant a bonus to attack equal to total bonuses on units defense and res times 1.5 during combat. What the extra heck is this? This weapon grants a blade temp effect only for defense and res field buffs, but it gets a 1.5 times multiplier. If you can imagine, if they had 10 total field buffs for defense and res, that would get her +15 extra attack. This weapon is actually disgusting as long as Tiki has a bonus on her, preferably attack, defense, and res field buffs. Honestly, even though she's super fast as well, it might not even matter with all the damage on hand. Now, their Harmonized skill is interesting. It actually just has the same Resonance Blaze effect as Harmonized Mia and Masked Marth. It has a global range, but it only gives it to Tiki and any units from Mystery of the Emblem or Blazing Blade. On top of this, Tiki will refresh the highest HP ally within 2 spaces if they are from these same titles. So we have a dance ability on a non-dancer unit. Ideally, this Harmonized skill is to be used for resonant battles where every action counts, but obviously a free refresh is going to be powerful regardless. Additionally, this resonance status is a bonus, so Tiki can activate her weapon at will. This skill also works on dancers, so we can now possibly refresh a dancer. Harmonized Tiki is going to also bring her Legendary Alt's unique skill with her. With everyone is a C skill that states at the start of the turn, if unit is adjacent to an ally, grants defense and res plus 5 to unit and adjacent allies. Alrighty, so this Tiki isn't that tanky like her armored version, but who cares about that? Plus 5 defense, plus 5 res is going to translate into plus 15 attack thanks to Frostfire Breath. Not only does this Tiki buff herself, she buffs defense and res. Absolutely disgusting synergy here. We're not even done yet with skills because Tiki also has Rally Up Speed Plus. This grants plus 6 speed to the target ally, and it spreads that to all allies within 2 spaces of the target, minus the user of course. Everyone loves their dual rallies, but Rally Up will spread the love to more members. If you just take Tiki and Ninian's base kit, they stack so much damage and it's easy to activate. With Frostfire Breath, they already start at 58 attack and speed push 4 is plus 7 attack, and we talked about with everyone that gives plus 15 extra attack from the defense and res buffs. Oh yeah, because that's a bonus, Frostfire Breath adds another plus 6 attack. Just these skills already get Tiki to 86 attack and 55 speed. If you actually need to double, you could easily tack on a Sacred Seal like Swift Sparrow, and Tiki can still take an actual attack field buff too. Good luck taking Tiki because it's not going to be pretty. Luckily, she is weak to arrows and all these dragon killing weapons out there, and if you can neutralize her defense and res field buffs or just panic her, then things are going to get a lot less crazy. For additional skills, you may want Swift Sparrow or Attack and Speed Solo because the push skill will eventually deactivate itself. For B skills, Desperation should absolutely finish off an enemy if it does get to proc, and you could try Vantage since she has so much attack. This encounter can work for Tiki, but you have to be careful of archers. If you can get Tiki her defense and res buffs, then a Glimmer proc should one-shot a ton of enemies. Heavy Blade should be easy to activate as well, or you could go with Savage Blow just to get more one-shot kills later on in the match. I would not try to tank this Tiki if you can't stop her buffs. It's gonna be nasty even if you have a high-res unit. That's going to be it for this video. If you aren't summoning, then we have a Tempest Trust coming up and you can earn a free Enna. She is under the Dragon Lagoons, and we got some great Sacred Seals to earn as well. Let me know what you think about this banner. I got myself a Xane and he is just hilarious to use. I may post another video today just showing the absurdity of his weapon. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.